Hello everyone, my name is Andre Luciano, and today I'm honored to present my research title, The Effect of Financial Literacy, Financial Behavior, and Overconfidence on Risk Tolerance. This study represents my commitment to understanding how these three factors influence on risk tolerance. In this presentation, I will walk through the entire research process, covering the background of our capital market, the specific problem addressed, the methodology used, and finally, the conclusion drawn from the statistical findings. To begin, let's look at the background. I found an incredible surge in Indonesian stock market. As of the end of January 2026, the capital market reached over 21.03 million investors. What I find even more encouraging is that the National Financial Literacy Index has improved to 66.46%. This growth is predominantly driven by millennials and Gen Z, who are increasing safely using various financial tools for budgeting and tracking their expense. However, this leads me to a crucial question. Does this growth in knowledge translate to how investors handle risk? Despite these positive trends, I have identified a significant challenge, the psychological bias of overconfidence. Often, after experiencing initial profits from a few transactions, investors fall into the trap of becoming overconfident. This overconfidence leads investors to dangerously underestimate risks in subsequent transactions. This is the core problem that this research aims to address. The research gap is clear. Existing literature often examines financial literacy, behavior, and overconfidence as independent influencers. There is a lack of evidence regarding how these three factors interact to collectively determine an investor's risk tolerance. Therefore, I set my objective to evaluate the individual and combined effects of these factors, providing a clear picture of how they influence decision making among individual investors in the Indonesian capital market. This is the framework of my study. I am testing three independent variables: financial literacy, financial behavior, and overconfidence, to see how they influence my dependent variable risk tolerance. For the literature review, I have defined this variable based on established theories. Moving to the methodology, I employed a quantitative approach using SAM-PLS via Smart PLS4 software. I gathered data from 354 active individual investors who met the criteria of having investment experience, utilizing a 28-item questionnaire. I ensured that the instruments were adapted from validated studies to capture the nuance of the respondents' financial habits. Moving to the core of my analysis, first, I evaluate the measurement model to ensure that the instruments I use are both valid and reliable. I examined the Cronbach, alpha, and composite reliability scores, and the result for all constructs, financial behavior, financial literacy, overconfidence, and risk tolerance, exceed the standard threshold. Specifically, the average variance extract values confirm that the convergent validity of my model is solid, meaning that each latent variable accurately represents the indicators I designed. This reliability gives me the confidence that the data I collect is consistent and free from significant measurement error. Next, starting with the R-square value. My findings show an R-square of 0.601 for risk tolerance. In the context of behavioral finance, this is very promising result. It indicates that approximately 60% of variance in investor risk tolerance can be explained by these three independent variables: financial literacy, financial behavior, and overconfidence. This confirms that the model I have constructed holds strong explanatory power and provides a meaningful framework for understanding the factors that shape an investor appetite for risk. In addition to R-square, I also assessed the discriminant validity using heterotrait monotrait ratio or HTMT. This is a crucial step to ensure that each construct in my model is conceptually distinct from the others. As we can see from the HTMT matrix, all values are within the acceptable threshold, confirming that my variables financial literacy, financial behavior, overconfidence, and risk tolerance are effectively measuring different constructs. This gives me confidence that my model doesn't suffer from multicollinearity issues and that the relationship I observed are genuinely between independent concepts. Now, for the most critical part of this research, the hypothesis testing. By analyzing the path coefficient, I arrived at three key insights. First, financial literacy has a positive and significant effect on risk tolerance. This suggests that as an investor gain a deeper grasp of financial principles, they become more comfortable navigating uncertainty. Second, overconfidence also shows a positive and significant relationship with risk tolerance. This aligns with the theory that investors who have an inflated sense of competence often underestimate market risks and are more willing to engage in risky trades. However, my third finding is the most surprising. Financial behavior has a significant negative impact on risk tolerance. While I initially hypothesized a positive link, the data suggests otherwise. This means that investors who practice disciplined habits such as strict budgeting, consistent record keeping, and careful debt management are actually tend to be more cautious and less prone to taking impulsive financial risks. To conclude, this finding underscores the critical need to consider how a blend of financial knowledge, psychological bias, and practical money management behavior collectively influence the risk-taking pattern of today's investor. Ultimately, this research highlights that disciplined financial behavior acts as a stabilizer, promoting a more conservative approach in the investment community. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your time and kind attention.